My name's Teresa Shaver. I'm from the Business Advisory Centre Durham. This is the 12th year of us putting Do It in Durham on. It is the celebration of global entrepreneurship around the world. There's over 40,000 activities that happened during this week, and we were honored to be part of 70 of them. So this is our last one for the year. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm excited to introduce Laura Jawad to us. She is going to tell us all about navigating Google's new rules and finding out more about SEO. I'm really excited to hear about this topic. I know that SEO does make a big difference to our business and to the breadcrumbs we leave in the digital market space. So Laura, if you don't mind taking over from me, and please write in the chat box if you have any questions. I'll be monitoring the chat box and I'll be handing over to Laura. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Teresa. And I am so happy to be here today. And I'm so impressed that you all are here. I didn't realize I was actually the last talk. So you guys are absolute champs. I hope you've learned so much this week, and hopefully we can end this with a bang. So as I'm getting started, I would love to know who is in the room with me. And so if you wouldn't mind just sharing maybe your industry, your job title, anything you'd like to share, I would love to know who I'm spending this time with. We've got a doula school. I have a background as a doula, so that's fun. We'll talk about that a little bit. Let me know who's here, and I'll start talking while you're doing that. So you know you're here to learn about SEO, and today in particular, we're going to be talking about small business SEO in 2024, because Google has been changing, right? The algorithm is changing, and I want you to be able to keep up with Google's new rules so that you can keep showing up in search results and keep your business front and center. I'm going to start this off with what I found to be a startling fact the first time I heard this number. So 97% of websites get no traffic from Google. 97%. Only 3% of websites on the internet are getting found, getting seen through Google. Okay. So whether you're part of the 97% or you're part of the 3%, here's what that means for you. It means that with respect to Google search, you are not competing with every website on the internet. You're not competing with every business out there. You're competing with a tiny fraction. And the great news there is most of those businesses, most of those websites don't do what you do, right? They aren't serving your local community. They're not bringing the kind of personal experience and commitment to customer service that you show up with in your business every single day. So today I'm going to show you how to tap into what I see as a massive opportunity for you to carve out a place for yourself, for your business in that 3% of websites that does get seen and found on Google. But before we get there, I want to make one thing very clear, and that's that getting that online visibility is not about hacks, and it's not about quick wins, right? Google's algorithm is evolving. It has been evolving and is evolving to look for something more. It is looking for real businesses run by real people with real expertise that they have earned through years of experience, okay? And so that showing Google that you are a real business with real expertise, that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, I think most of you in this room are new to me, so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Laura Jawad, and I'm an SEO strategist for small businesses with a bit of a unique backstory. So I'm actually a PhD trained scientist and a recovering academic. And so you could say that solving tough problems is in my DNA, right? Like I like to call myself a professional problem solver. My journey from academic science to entrepreneurship, you might imagine, it was not planned. So when I became a new mom, 2016, I found a huge gap in support for the very specific challenges that I was facing. And it compelled me / inspired me to leave my position at the University of Washington, and I opened a pregnancy and postpartum personal training business and later a birth doula practice. And so here I am in my first piece of branded apparel, which I just thought was like the coolest thing. both of these businesses, both of these practices became fully booked out, built from the ground up using SEO. And so as those businesses grew, I became the person that my colleagues would come to help get their businesses found on Google. And so eventually I turned that into a full-fledged business. And so now I'm here today. I help service providers and small businesses like those of you in the room get found on Google without having to constantly chase likes and follows. I like to solve problems. And the specific problem that I'm here to solve today is how do we help you get your business seen and found by the right people in Google search? So over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to take you beyond SEO basics. We're going to zoom right past that, although I'll give you a resource at the end to address some of that if that's what you're here for. And instead, we're going to talk about what the algorithm actually wants in 2024 and going into 2025 so that you can give Google what it wants and turn your website into your most valuable lead magnet. There you go. We're going to put our hair up here. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with SEO? So before we get into the meat of this, I just want to take the temperature of the room. Please put it in the chat. 1 is SEO, like what the heck are you talking about? And 5 is I could teach this class. And while you're at it, if you want to share your most burning SEO question to just give me a sense of what you're coming here looking for, I would love that. Okay. So this is great. Okay. We've got people across the spectrum. That is absolutely fantastic. Let me know what your questions are as well. Now, if you showed up here today thinking we would be talking about keywords, because we're talking about SEO, you would be forgiven. Because once upon a time, SEO really kind of was about keywords. But today, it's only a fraction of what Google cares about. Today, SEO rests on 4 pillars. SEO rests on keywords and content. Those are the words on the page, the technical structure of your website, user engagement. Okay, so Google is actually watching to see how people behave on your website. A little creepy, but that's the truth of it. And then your brand authority, your online reputation. And so, yes, you've got to have the right words on the page. That's your keywords. But it's also equally important that your website is trustworthy, that it's credible, and that is engaging enough to meet your audience's needs. And so while keywords, while structure, they still matter, they are relatively easy to manipulate, and Google knows that. And so the algorithm is evolving to look for something more, to look for deeper, more authentic signals of helpfulness and authority that are harder to fake. Okay. And we'll come back to this idea of being hard to fake. So that's why today, okay, there you go. I said that, but I'll say it again. Today, we are going to hone in on 3 ways that you can align your strategies with these updated priorities of Google to make sure that your website ranks well, engages your audience, and stands out as a trusted resource. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you about experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, which is a concept that is so important to Google that they've given it its own acronym. And so we're going to talk about how to establish that very specific type of credibility and give Google confidence in your content. We're going to then zoom out from your website, and we're going to talk about how to continue to expand your reputation into your local community with local SEO. And then we'll zoom out even further, and we're going to talk about building your broader online reputation to support your SEO. Each of these strategies is going to help you align with Google's algorithm in a way that strengthens your website's visibility, making it easier for clients in your niche to connect with you. So, Google has changed, or I should just say search has changed more in the last year than it has in the last 10 years. And as someone who has been in the trenches building businesses through SEO, I can tell you that this shift is a really big deal. So virtual show of hands, you can put it in the chat. Who here has come across low quality AI generated content? And so maybe this is a blog post that just feels really flat and lifeless. Maybe it is an email you've gotten that just lacks any sort of human touch. Maybe it is like one rocket ship emoji too many. I think we have all seen this stuff, right? And Google has been tracking this too. And to keep up with the sheer volume of content hitting its index right now, it's prioritizing content with clear markers of experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, EEAT. All right. So how do we bring EEAT into your website in a way that makes Google want to sit up and take notice? We're going to talk about 3 powerful ways to do that. We're going to talk about building trust through social proof. We're going to talk about creating your knowledge base or creating content, highlighting your expertise and real world experience. And we're going to talk about doing a little strategic bragging, showing off your credibility markers. So let's start with social proof. This is essentially any form of proof on your website that lets potential clients see, other people like me trust this person. And so I want you to do just a little thought experiment. So imagine that you are in an unfamiliar city and you're just wandering around and you walk by a cafe or a store and you see a line out the door. How does that make you feel? What does that make you think about this establishment? Especially when next door, there's another business that's totally empty, right? It tells you that people love this business, that they trust this business. And maybe you think, I should come back and check this out, maybe during off-peak hours, right? That's real life social proof. And that's what testimonials and reviews do for your website. So on your website, social proof is testimonials, it's reviews, it's case studies that show that other people trust your business. It's great for people, but Google sees it too. And Google uses that positive social proof as a trust signal, right? Google's a robot. It has no heart. It has no emotion. So it looks to see that other people trust you. That's its proxy for trust. But social proof, in particular testimonials, also do double duty for your SEO because by definition, they are created in voice of customer language, which is a really rich source of conversational keywords that help connect searchers to your website. So, testimonials, they go on your homepage, they go on your about page, they go on your services page, they even go on your contact page, right? Which I will argue is the most underutilized page on anybody's website. But put them everywhere. And then you've got case studies, right? Which is a longer form version of social proof that allows you to go deeper into your results, your unique methodologies. Those go on your blog. So who here has a blog? You tell me in the chat. And if you are feeling generous, share the link to your blog because I would love to go back after this and check out your blogs. I love snooping. I'll learn a little bit more about the folks in the room. Hopefully some of you have one, but this is where, okay, I put this here as a reminder to say this. If your website only has a few, we're going to switch tacks to talk about blogs. If your website only has a few core pages, like your homepage or about page and maybe a services page, Google is not going to see you as an expert, okay? So that blog that your case studies could contribute to, it is a non-negotiable, and this is a hill I will die on. Okay, you've got to have more than 5 pages on your website. Long form content creation is now a non-negotiable. And most often I talk about long form content as a blog, but it doesn't have to be a blog. It could be your podcast. It could be your YouTube channel, but then you need to bring that content back to your website with podcast show notes or episode show notes. Okay. But a well-written blog, a fleshed out knowledge base, it shows that you are an expert. And Google rewards websites that are offering genuine value and solving real problems. I also want to be clear that we're not talking about just producing content for the sake of producing content. Like, we're not just filling this up to put pages in our website. We want to really be strategic about this. Okay. So you want to choose topics that strategically highlight your expertise and provide real value. And so you want to publish posts that reflect the needs and interests of your audience. So you can consider things like, what do potential clients always ask me? What do current clients always ask me? What questions might my ideal client be asking before they even know that my solution exists? Provide insights that only someone in your position could offer. Because this is really where you get to spotlight, with respect to your website, this is really where you get to spotlight your unique expertise and your unique enthusiasm for what you do. Now I'm going to move on to our third strategy for demonstrating experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And we're going to talk about our credibility markers, those pieces of evidence that give people confidence in your expertise. And here I'm just showing you a few examples of places on your website where you could house your credibility markers. You can have brag bars that show the companies you've worked for, the clients you've served, the media outlets that you have been featured in, testimonials, your about page that you link from your navigation bar, the author bio in your blog, right? These are examples of the type of credibility markers, trust signals that Google and real people look for. On your website, you have got to share your story, your relevant certifications, those things that make you uniquely qualified to provide the service you're providing and to teach the things that you teach in your content. If you get media mentions, if you're on a podcast, spotlight those. If you win an award, spotlight those. And in your blog, you have to have an author bio that highlights your credentials and experience and makes it abundantly clear why you are qualified to teach what you are teaching. I know we don't all like to toot our own horn, but this is super, super important. When you embed EEAT, these concepts we've just talked about through social proof, through content, through clear credibility markers, we're showing Google and your audience.
Listening.
Are we okay? Okay.
You're showing muted. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Everybody is supposed to be muted. It says muted online, so okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to mute everybody again. And then I'm going to ask.
All right.
Okay. Go again.
Okay. But essentially, these three strategies we've just talked about, they're showing Google and your audience that you deserve to be trusted and prioritized in search. So now that we've talked a little bit about your website, I want to continue to talk about your reputation, which is so important to Google. So we're going to zoom out from your website and we're going to talk about your reputation within your local community. We're going to talk about local SEO. And local SEO is this magical thing where you get to be a big fish in a little pond. I think a lot of times folks will go online to try and promote, to serve an online audience, thinking more people is easier, when in reality, it is so much easier to focus on your local community. Local SEO is also really important because Google prioritizes businesses based on geographic proximity, which means the closer you are to your potential clients, the more likely you are to show up in their search results. It's partly about proximity. Local SEO also lets you build real, authentic trust with your community through the curation of local reviews, which are really important. And so it means that the people in your local area are going to find you not only because you're close, but because you've spent time building like this trusted local presence that's going to make you stand out. Okay, so it's sort of the double power of local SEO. Okay, so the last time, question for you guys, the last time you needed a plumber or a handy person, where did you look first? Did you go to Google? And did you type in something like plumber near me? Also referrals, yes. Yes. But local SEO is a powerful way for businesses to capture visibility with clients who are already looking for nearby services. But the thing I think a lot of folks don't realize is that every search is a local search now. Even if you don't specify a local keyword, Google is going to try and prioritize businesses or answers that it thinks are close to you. And here's kind of a fun example from a recent experience of mine. So I am a Brandy Carlisle fanatic, okay? And I go here for live every year, usually at the Gorge, which is a local amphitheater in the Pacific Northwest. It's a beautiful outdoor venue. She didn't play there this year, so I went to Denver and I heard her at Red Rocks. And as I was sitting there just enjoying it and taking it in, I was thinking like, I need more of this in my life. What are the other amphitheaters that I need to go check out? So I Googled best outdoor amphitheaters, hoping for a nationally ranked list. And guess what I got? I got a list of the best outdoor amphitheaters in Colorado. If I had done that search in Washington State, even though I didn't put any local keywords in the search query, I would have gotten a totally different set of answers. And so it's just kind of a fun example of how Google uses your location information to serve up results. So how many folks here consider themselves to be a local business? Could you let me know in the chat? While I'm waiting for some of those answers, I'm assuming we've got a mix of yeses and nos. Yep, got at least one yes. If you consider yourself a no, and it sounds like Stephanie might be a no. Yep. I want you to consider if you could serve your local community. Because like I mentioned a second ago, instead of competing with every business online everywhere, all of a sudden you can focus on customers in your area who need that thing you provide. You can be a big fish in a small pond. Like, it is easier. So a local SEO strategy starts with incorporating location-based keywords directly into your website's content. Local keywords, sorry, we're going to talk about local keywords on your website. We're going to talk about claiming your Google business profile, assuming this is a thing you're eligible for, and we'll talk about what makes you eligible for one. And then we're going to kind of bring this full circle, and we're going to talk about improving your EEAT with local reviews. So we're going to start by talking about local keywords. And these are key to any local SEO strategy. So these are words that you put on your website that increase your visibility in geographically relevant searches, those near me searches, but also, as I mentioned, in all Google searches. If Google knows where your business is located, it will try to serve you up to people searching in your area. So you want to add your city and region to your homepage, services pages, testimonials, and I didn't put it on here, but your contact page is an obvious spot, right? Where it makes sense. And I say this because people don't do it. I did an audit for a local personal training business this week that had no contact information on the contact page. And when you leave that off, you're missing a huge opportunity to get found. So local SEO with an online business. I'm just going to address this question real quick. I don't know what type of online business you have, but is it a service that your local community, your local business community is looking for as well? Therapy service. So that's a perfect example. Have you tapped into your local community? Because I can tell you in the health and wellness space, proximity is a trust signal for people. People would rather, even if you are providing a service online, people still automatically trust someone who is in their city more than they trust someone who's across the country. And so if you are reaching out to your local community, there are people there who would rather have an online therapist than have to go out and like get in their car and drive somewhere. So I would still be tapping into your local community, and putting these location keywords on your website does not detract from your broader SEO. Okay. If I put Seattle on my website, It doesn't mean that you won't find me in Toronto. It depends how you're looking. But local SEO is an ad. It doesn't detract from your broader SEO. Okay. I also want to just take like a brief pause here and just acknowledge that like we're going over a lot of stuff today. And I know we probably also hit a point where our brains are starting to melt just a little bit. So I want to also just assure you that at the very end of this presentation, I put together a resource for you guys called the SEO Kickstart Kit. That is a collection of 5 checklists that are going to organize all the information we've talked about and break it up into manageable, actionable items for you to do. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, I just want you to know that that is coming because you can't do this all at once. You can't digest this all at once. And so I think that this resource will really help you remind you of what we're talking about today, but then also take those small actions. I'm just trying to give you the information right now. Okay. And we'll also have that Q&A at the end as well. Okay. So let's talk about this Google Business Profile. Google Business Profile, you've probably seen these in the search results before. These are almost like mini websites within the search results where you can spotlight the most important information about your business so that it's super findable. Who is eligible for these? The minimum requirement for a Google Business Profile is that you have an in-person touch point with your customer or client. And so it doesn't mean that you have to have a brick and mortar presence, but it has to mean that you serve people locally in some capacity, whether that's handing off a physical product, whether it's doing, some sort of in-person session in a coffee shop, or maybe you're a birth doula and you're going to the hospital and serving your clients in person. Okay. That's the minimum requirement. And I'm going to talk about this, even though maybe not everybody here is eligible for one of these. But then we're going to come back to another strategy that everybody can use to get in front of more local clients. Okay. Google Business Profile is super foundational for local SEO, and it's so important to Google. And so I really feel like I would be remiss in not talking about it today. It increases your visibility in Google's local pack, the map pack. That's how you get into these results right underneath the map when you do a local search. And a well-maintained active profile also it sets you up for double visibility. So local pack, that map pack, and the organic results, right? So like most of the things we're talking about today, there's usually a double benefit. The double benefit here is you show up in the map pack, you show up in the organic results. It makes you super, super visible. So you want to complete your Google Business Profile with photos, with accurate, consistent business information. It's so important that if you do set one of these up, that you're using the exact same name, address, and phone number across all your platforms, because that consistency is a trust signal that Google looks for. So the name, address, phone number on your website, on your Google Business Profile, on your socials, it should all be the same. That's just a little pro tip. And you want to keep it active to the best of your ability in your limited time. Okay, so it gives you the option of posting updates. And even if you don't even if you don't create those updates, you can respond to reviews, both positive and constructive, right? You can respond to client questions. You can seed your profile with Q&As. There's a lot more that you can do with these than I think a lot of people realize. But mostly I want you to think of your Google Business Profile as an extension of your website, because it's often the first impression that folks have of your business. So it should reflect the quality of the service that you offer. Now, what if you aren't eligible for this? You can still put local keywords on your website, and you can still collect reviews from local clients. Google Business Profile makes it really easy to collect and curate your local reviews, but you can also have folks directly contribute reviews that you put up on your website. And these reviews serve double duty because they improve your local rankings through SEO. They build trust with local clients. Okay. And here is the thing that is really powerful, which is that they serve to validate, one, your business's reputation, but two, your location, right? This is how Google knows you're actually operating where you say you're operating, because you have real life humans vouching for you. They show Google that your business is trusted by real people, as do all reviews. But with respect to local SEO, we really want to focus on getting those reviews from our local customers. So I recommend that you make this as easy as possible for people. If you can automate your feedback requests, put it into a workflow, put it into an automatic email that goes out at the conclusion of your service, provide the link to your Google Business profile or wherever you're collecting reviews, and even provide examples of what a good review looks like, because I will tell you that a big reason why a lot of people don't leave reviews is because they do not know what to write. They don't know how to write a review. And if you provide some examples, you will get more reviews. Okay. Improving your local reputation, being the go-to business in your area, it is absolutely within reach, and it is easier than broader SEO when you focus on the right strategies. So by using local keywords, by keeping your Google business profile up to date, by building trust through local reviews, you're setting your business up to stand out in your local community. Local SEO is so powerful. And you're building a local reputation that can't be faked, right? Going back to what we said earlier in this presentation, Google is looking for these signs of helpfulness and credibility that cannot be faked. So now that we've talked about how to strengthen your presence both on your website and within your local community, let's talk about expanding your reputation beyond that. We want to extend your reputation to the broader online space, your broader digital footprint, so to speak. And so the way to do this is to get featured in the media, to get mentioned across the web, to engage on social media. This is how you really start signaling to Google that you're not just like a local player, but that you're a real brand that's visible and trusted and making an impact. Okay. So we're going to talk about this thing that is often overlooked in SEO, your presence beyond your website, right? How often do you hear this talked about with respect to SEO? Probably not often, but it's really important. Google is increasingly rewarding businesses and brands for their online activities beyond their website. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been featured in a blog post, on a podcast, in a local news story? If you have, it is more than just a feather in your cap, right? It's actually a really powerful signal to Google that once again, other real people trust you in your work and are vouching for your work. Okay. So how do you make this work for your business? We're going to talk about PR. And I know it's groaning, because if you're like me, you might be interested in SEO because you don't have to do the PR. This is not a thing I ever wanted to do. But the reality is, because Google is trying to vet, again, real people, real businesses. And the fact is that real people and real businesses tend to have a larger online footprint. They're looking for this stuff. So PR is no longer just for big companies. It is for you too. And there's ways to make this manageable for a small business with an already very large to-do list. Okay. So why? PR tells Google that you're a trusted industry authority, right? As a lot of the things that I've mentioned today, PR does double duty for you. It's going to compound in the background. It's going to help your SEO compound in the background. But short term, it's also going to drive traffic to your website and build brand awareness today. So it's a really, really valuable activity for you to do, even if it's okay. Here's what I want you to do starting today. We want to think about pitching your expertise to media outlets, and that doesn't mean huge ones. This can mean podcasters, people with a blog, local newspapers. I want you to start pitching yourself to people and start trying to secure these mentions and these appearances. And once you get them, you want to make sure that you're sharing them. So you can't just be using them as a feather in your cap. You want to be shouting them from the rooftop. So you want to be putting them on your website. I showed you examples of some of those brag bars. And you want to be announcing them on your social media and in your email list, right? So once you get one of these, make the most of it. Now, Google doesn't just care about what's on your website. It's also looking at how active you are on other platforms. Guest podcasting, these media, like the PR, that is an example of a platform. But your social media presence also does play a big role in your digital footprint. Okay. Posting on social media, engaging with followers, collaborating with other people in your fields, they all signal to Google that your business is active, that it's current, that other people know, like, and trust you. So Google values businesses that stay visible, that stay active, and the more that you show up on socials and in online communities, the more authority Google attributes to your business. So once upon a time, you could use SEO to divest from social media. I don't advise you to do that anymore. It doesn't mean that you need to become an influencer. I am certainly not, but it does mean that you need to maintain some level of presence. Okay. Pick the platform where your people are hanging out. So I want to be real because, like, I know as a small business that you cannot be everywhere all the time, and no one expects you to be. There's no way that you're going to show up in the same way that a big brand with a big marketing is going to show up. But you do need to start spreading your tentacles. So what can you do? Could you pick one podcast a month to pitch to? Could you try on social platform and commit to showing up consistently, whatever that means to you, right? There's no rules here. And the final thing I'll tell you is that patience pays off. SEO is a long-term strategy. And so you want to allow these efforts the time that they need to compound. So what I don't want you to do is to pitch to one podcast or get mentioned in one place, maybe start working on your blog for 3 months, decide it's not working and walk away from it. What I would rather see you do is take these small actions that are sustainable over time, again, whatever that means for you, and give them the time they need to compound and start working for you. Okay. So again, I know that this is a lot. I'm going to remind you that we're almost at the end here. And at the very end, I'm going to share this SEO Kickstart with you that is going to organize a lot of the information that we've talked about today and break it down into those actionable steps so that it is not so overwhelming. I don't expect you to remember everything that we've talked about today, but before we get there, let's do a quick recap. So we talked about building trust directly through your website, right? Demonstrating EEAT through social proof, through content that demonstrates your experience and expertise, and with clear credibility markers on your website. And then we zoomed out and we talked about the value of building your local reputation, engaging with your local community through local SEO with local keywords, with your Google business profile, with local reviews. And then we expanded out one level further to talk about your broader online reputation. And that's the level of PR and social media. Okay. By focusing on these strategies, you're not just keeping up with an algorithm, you're really setting your business apart in a way that's authentic and credible and truly sustainable. And so before we wrap up, again, I know this has been a lot. I would love to field questions. So if you want to unmute yourself or if you want to type them in the chat, I would love to address your questions.